All right. Next up is Matt with the Feelies. Or am I incorrect? Sorry, Josh is the Feelies. I'm sorry. Poor pitch.
Did you panic there for a second? It's like
I didn't panic so much as I was like, well. Yeah.
Is that like an illness? Josh has a case. Josh has the Feelies.
Yeah. Is it the Feelies or is it Feelies?
It says the Feelies on Best Ever Albums.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the Feelies. I will explain where that comes from momentarily. But in the opening montage, you heard Moscow Nights, and now you're going to hear Fa Se La.
Get a message out to Mary Ann. Everything is alright. Get a message out to Mom and Dad. Everything is alright. Fa 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 se la. Fa 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 se la.
Okay, the Feelies. Matt, where are they on the stats?
So they actually do crack the top 100 on Best Ever Albums, coming in at number 99 in the 1980s, number 12 in 1980, number 665 of all time. It's their highest rated album on Best Ever Albums, and it did not make Rolling Stone's list.
Okay, well, the Feelies only have 6 albums total, and that's from 1980 to like today. So they started out in Haladon, New Jersey in 1976. In a band called the Out Kids, and it consisted of Feelies members Glenn Mercer on guitar, Bill Million on guitar and vocals, Dave Weckerman on drums, and a vocalist named Richard Riley. They then added Vinnie D'Annunzio on drums and added Joe Pepeska on bass, and then Weckerman and Riley would leave the band, forming the original 4 of the Feelies. So Mercer, Million, Vinnie D'Annunzio, and John Pepeska as the original iteration of the Feelies.
Vinnie D'Annunzio, I like that.
Yeah. Well,
Vinnie D'Annunzio.
His brother Keith.
John,
that's
that's not good, John. You shouldn't do
that. I mean, I like Vinnie, but yeah.
The name of the band comes from the Aldous Huxley book Brave New World. There's a device in the book called the Feelies, and that's where they drew it from. By 1978, the band had evolved again, with Vinnie's brother Keith coming in on bass and Anton Fear replacing Vinnie on the drums. So one D'Annunzio's out, another D'Annunzio comes in.
It's a family affair.
Yeah. Around this time, John Piccarello, the Village Voice, called the Feelies the best unsigned band in New York City. And so they were around the same time as like Television and kind of all these other bands that we've talked about on the scene. With this lineup of Mercer, Million, Keith D'Annunzio, who also now goes by Keith Clayton, I saw. I don't know why he changed his last name, but he did. And Anton Fear, they released the single Fa Se La on Rough Trade Records in 1979. Now, Rough Trade was an indie label in London and would later famously sign the Smiths in 1983, and also the Strokes' debut EP, Modern Age, in 2001. And they're actually still around today as a subsidiary of a privately held company called the Beggars Group, which I think owns a bunch of different labels. This debut album, Crazy Rhythms, was released in April of 1980 on Stiff Records, which was another British indie label.
Great record name record label name. Yeah.
Yeah. It was not considered commercially successful upon release, but it was critically respected and has been considered influential over the decades, primarily with REM citing them as an influence. I also saw that, so I'll get to this later, but their official website is hilarious because it looks like it was made in 2000 and
GeoCities?
Yeah, pretty
Angel
much.
Fire?
If you go there, it's I think it's feeliesweb.com if you want to take a look and see what I'm talking about.
I do.
It seems like it was, put together by a fan of the band, but it's their official site, and their bios in there is funny.
To give you an idea, I received an alert that said it is not a secure website by my route. Yes, so. Not secure. Yep.
Yes, you can click on over through that warning if you want, because they haven't.
I don't get that warning. My computer doesn't care. It's like, here you go.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Feelies.com.
My cousin's got a better website than this.
Yeah. FEELIES-web.com, I think, is the site.
FEELIES-web.com. Okay.
FEELIES-web.com. Oh, it does say not secure. Okay, I'm getting out.
Yeah.
Somebody's monitoring me.
It's
Hey, they're playing Brooklyn in May.
Yeah, to give you an idea,
It's June.
yes. I
don't have a vault right here, like in terms of security, but like my browser will not let me get to this site, so that's how you know it's old. Because who knows?
Well, they do update it, strangely enough. Anyway, regardless.
It's like live still to this day?
Yeah. They're still
Really?
posting, and they seem to post archives of their past shows and
Hey,
things on there.
they played Fairfield, Connecticut in March this year.
Yeah.
That's where I went to college.
Do,
Wow.
do they have like the scroll on the main page, Josh, where like it's just like a home page where they just write on it and just continues to add on it? Is that the feel for it? Or
No, but they do have little icons on like free music expression and like click on this all browsers compatible sort of thing.
I love it. Yeah.
Their bio says that they don't like to play live, so I think that is contributing to kind of their output overall and their overall history as a band. They also, after this album was released, they had some issues with their label, Stiff Records, who they felt was
Stiffed them?
was not promoting them. It was more interested in just promoting the label. And they also didn't like their follow-up demo after this, so they decided to part ways with the band.
Would you say they got boned, Josh? Is that what you'd say?
Just keep them coming, John.
Yep, I will. Well, that alone is a joke right there. So
After Crazy Rhythm, D'Annunzio and Fear left the band, and they didn't put out another album until they recorded The Good Earth in 1985, co-produced by Peter Buck of REM, and released in 1986. Million and Mercer are always producers on their albums as well, so that's why Peter Buck's also a co-producer. And they also put out an EP called No One Knows at the end of 86, which featured Beatles and Neil Young covers. So in the intervening years between 80 and 86, they basically formed side projects and kept playing music just in kind of different ways. They formed a band called the Tripes, which featured former Feelies member Dave Weckerman, as well as other future Feelies members Stan Demeski and Brenda Sauter. And then the Tripes released an EP in 84, and then some members of that band formed a band called Speed the Plow, which I have heard of somewhere along the way, but I can't remember in what context. They also play, in that time, they also continue to play around New York and New Jersey. They have another band called Young Woo, and they played as a cover band called the Willies, or the Willies from Haladon. So they're basically just playing music and not really interested in having any sort of, dedication to one band or a label or a brand. They would also occasionally perform as the Feelies during holidays specifically. So I guess their name was out there enough that they wanted to reunite for special occasions. When The Good Earth was released in 86, there was 10 original songs, and they opened for Lou Reed and REM that year. And
that certainly makes sense.
yeah, exactly. In 88, the Feelies signed to a major label, A&M Records, and released their album Only Life, and that lineup was the same as the Good Earth lineup, with Mercer and Million again producing. In 1991, they released their final album before a long hiatus titled Time for Witness, and then reuniting for a one-time appearance in July of 2008. They played a series of shows at Battery Park in New York City with Sonic Youth. And then in March of 2011, the band released their album Here Before, their first one in 20 years, and they released their sixth album, In Between, in February of 2017. Now, in movie-related news, the band appeared in Jonathan Demme's 1986 film Something Wild, which I highly recommend. They are playing as a band in a high school reunion, and they're credited as the Willies, and they played bits of 5 of their songs in that. So I had actually seen them before I knew, obviously, of the Feelies. And also, this band the blue background album cover that you've seen is often Weezer's often compared to their
Oh yeah.
debut.
I thought that
Similarity.
immediately. I'm like, was that on purpose? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it's on purpose, but the comparison's often made. So, and then looking at their website, which I told you guys about, they're still around because they just played shows in May. They also
They were
have
just in Fairfield.
they also have a Facebook page which is active and post their shows. They are really kind of, on May 30th they played quote, performing 2 sets of 70s classics by Bowie, Bolin, Reed, Roxy, Eno, Iggy, and more, with Dave Weckerman and Bob Torsello at the City Winery in New York City. So they're kind of like a covers band too. And they're just, and I looked on their website at all their past shows that they posted from, where they played, and they really seem like they just are happy to play kind of mid-Atlantic New England. They're always in like New York City or New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania. They made it down to Cat's Cradle and outside of UNC, where I've seen bands play before, but they don't even really like tour nationally. They just seem to be content to play music in that area. So I'm not sure. I didn't read any interviews with the band, but if they don't like playing live and they're just interested in staying close to home, then maybe that's kind of limited their success, or, maybe their goals are not to become like a well-known band. But I thought it was interesting kind of how close, their circle is in terms of where they are and how they are perceived. So that's all I have. That's their complete bio. I am interested in seeing them live if they ever come around at some point. They're probably not coming to Oregon anytime soon, but
You're gonna have to go to them, Josh.
yeah. But what did you guys think of their debut album, Crazy Rhythms?
I guess it's me, right? Who starts
Yep.
this one? 'Cause I start, well, Josh and Matt, the one problem with you guys with these thorough bios is that often you guys talk through things that I was going to like ask questions if it's there, which is
Ask
good.
away.
Isn't that
So,
the point
I mean,
of the bio?
We all have different viewpoints on that, right? But there was things that were in the bio that kind of, I was like, this is interesting. One was that I thought the lead singer, Mercer, right, is his last name, sounds a lot like Lou Reed. And so the fact that you said that they opened for Lou Reed makes a lot of sense. I feel like these days, like, to be a post-punk band, like, Kurt Cobain had to have liked your music and put you in his top 50 albums, and like REM in some way has to say that you influenced them. There can't be many more bands we cover that influenced REM, because REM is about to release Murmur in 3 years. So that kind of made me laugh. But yeah, Everybody's Got Something to Hide, but Their Monkey's a Beatles song, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
From the White Album.
Yep. So when I was listening
Everyone's
to that,
got something to have but their monkey.
but me and my
Except for me and my monkey.
Except for me and my monkey, yeah. Anyway, not important enough for me to bring out there. But yes, as I was listening to that, I didn't have the tracks in front of me. I'm like, well, this is a Beatles song, which was interesting. I also was listening to it on Spotify, and a version of Paint It Black by the Stones came up as well, which was weird.
Yes, that was a add-on in like a re-release. Yeah, bonus CD reissue.
Well, yeah, that came up. So
So
I wasn't sure if that was on the album. I found out later that it was an add-on. So there was a Beatles and a Stones song. But yeah, this is the first thing that immediately jumped out, and every time I listened to it stayed, was the percussion on this album. Mm-hmm. It's by far the thing that stands out to me over everything. And don't get me wrong, there's like I now recognize something, and it's funny because I was writing notes, right? And then at the end, I try not to do too much research on the albums I don't cover, because I like to just talk about it fresh and be surprised. But I did want to find out, who was playing what. And I'd written that the solos were angular, right? And then I was going and reading, all of the normal, Pitchfork and different people, and they kept describing the solos as angular. So I'm like, okay, I now know what an angular solo sounds like. So yes, I recognize the angular guitar work on this. But I would say, and that's, once again, that's something that I could never have ever coherently said, even 5 years ago, right? In terms of our albums, like 75, but now I know what that sounds like. the percussion is the thing that immediately it's at times it's like hand percussion and world music percussion and rhythmic percussion. At times it's designed to keep like a steady thumping beat in the background. At other times it opens up a little bit and it'll give you like a just different variations of stuff. And other times it stays very consistent, almost like that metronomic beat that we talk about all the time in the krautrock and stuff like that. But there wasn't a song on this album where the drums weren't the first thing that I heard. And I don't know, Josh, was that by design in terms of the mix, or was it more just the sound of the drums just popped that much to me? Did they say anything about the design?
No, there was not much on the production side of this album and what they were going for. So I don't know.
Yeah, so I mean, that was the things. It's like, okay, I've got Lou Reed fronting sort of a band that has a prominent percussion, but not in like the rock band way with fills, or drum. We're listening to a lot of like Drum Machine, right, and big. We heard Rush last week, and the like Judas Priest. There's these big ass drum sounds, right? The Ozzy album. This is neither of those. This is almost a throwback more to the stuff that's going on in like Santana and stuff like that along the way, where that's the first things you notice. So, and then you throw in that what I call the angular guitar that sort of weaves in and out and stacks up on itself. So, because of that, and we are being a little bit. We're saying too often that something's like proto-indie and because that's too general, right? But this is one of the few where I have to say that like this sort of bridges the ground into what's coming in the 80s. I mean, it's no shock that REM loves this band because they are to some degree writing the types of lyrics that REM would write later, like Suburban Kid, Ennui, I'd say. I mean, and then the Weezer thing is funny because you look at the cover, you're like, these guys look like Weezer, and there's the blue, so that's interesting. I think someone was listening to the Feelies, would have to be my guess. But then the first track is called "The Boy with the Perpetual Nervousness," which made me laugh at the name of it because it's like, if that isn't like a suburban nerds writing rock type track, what is. But yeah, I enjoyed this album. I don't want to take up too much time because I'll talk about things that I like and weave it in after you guys get your space, and I don't want to step all over you guys. But those were my initial observations. Matt, what about you?
So yeah, this is totally new to me, and you're right. It's a lot of percussion, and the guitars kind of supplement that as well. There's not, because the guitars are played. It's very fast, right? So that's something that I definitely noticed with the guitars, just like very fast. And this is a groovy album. Like they find a groove and they stick with this guitar part, and they just and they'll intersperse lyrics here and there, but then they'll just let it play out and kind of almost do like this jam. But not a whole lot is happening in the jam. It's just like, we've hit this groove and we're going to stay with this for like 2 minutes, right? And then we're going to do some lyrics, and then we're going to go back to the groove, and then towards the end we're going to throw another guitar part in there to layer it up a little bit more, right? So,
and it's not like in the pocket either. You know how they describe things as in the pocket? They do stay with the groove, but not in the way that like it's described as in the pocket, if that makes sense, right?
I'm not sure what that means, but
I think that's kind of like where the Velvet Underground I heard sound came from in this album, and it reminded me of Yo La Tengo too. That's kind of
I was getting the band that came to my one of the bands that came to my mind that we haven't mentioned yet was Modern Lovers. There's definitely like a Modern Lovers feel to this in terms of, not necessarily the vocals are definitely different because of Jonathan Richman's got that really unique vocal style, but like musically it's a lo-fi kind. Well, not even terribly lo-fi, but there's a minimalist production here. There's the guitar tones that they're playing here are very kind of basic, not really distorted either. I
agree, guys, with your jam, they are kind of jammy in some way.
But it's a very straightforward kind of like. That's it. There's not like many choruses. It's not like a traditional song structure either. But this is like.
Can I describe what in the pocket means too? So that for those that are so in the pocket's like when the rhythm section is humming. So like the bass, the drums, and sort of rhythm guitar and stuff. It feels like everything is kind of tight and congealed together. And it can be when things are going steadily for a while and there's a sort of like a sound that stays consistent, or it can be when the sonic landscape kind of all comes together. And I think it's the percussion that takes it out of the pocket, if that makes sense.
I don't know. This what you just described sounds like I would say that's kind of sounds what that's a description of what this sounds like to me. Like it's kind of all they're all in the groove. They're all tight and really together. Yeah. I mean, the drums are a part of that to me. But anyway, I mean, like this is like 3 weeks in a row, right? We do Pylon, Gyrate, right? An album I never heard of, really like that. And then we did Soft Boys last week, and now we're doing this. They're getting better. I love this album. This album was freaking great.
I had a feeling you would like
this. This is like, I heard this from the get-go, right up my alley. This is a danceable thing. I'm sitting here, I'm grooving, and it's just like, and it doesn't take me long to get into this. This is more of the minimalist type of song structure that I would rather listen to than something like...
this isn't minimalist. This isn't minimalist at all.
It's minimalist in terms of,
I know what you're saying, though.
What they're doing is it can be loud, but it's also not loud. Like it's like the music that the way that they're playing with the speed and everything like that. It could be so much more, but they're also holding back at the same time. I feel like in terms of the sonic structure, like the guitar, right? That's just like it could be a much more of a distorted kind of punk kind of guitar, and they are not. They are holding back on that, and so it's minimalist, and it's certainly not as minimalist as
well. There's stuff
Young
jammed
Marble
into
Giants.
Every inch of this, though. There's no space in this. I think of minimalist as having no space, and this is jammed with sonic sounds.
Yes, no, that's true. But it's not like a full sound. It's a reserved sound, I think, I would say.
It's also the lack of lyrics, I think, contributes to kind of that minimal
perhaps, yes. But it's I don't know. I loved it. I thought that like, you know, every song on here was just really great, and I'm like, I can't believe I never heard of this band. This is just, I'm feeling this right away. Like, and it's the cover of Everybody's Got Something to Hide Except for Me and My Monkey. That's great. That's a cool cover, because normally I'm not a huge fan of Beatles covers, but like they kind of make it their own. They take it, and that's a great song for them to cover the Beatles if they're going to kind of take their style that they're doing with their original songs and to pick a Beatles song. That's a pretty good one to do, and the way that they do it, they do kind of make it their own. They make it different enough to make it unique, you know.
They play it fast too.
Yeah, everything on this is fast. This is a very fast album. This is very urgent. It's very, you know, I guess before I would like to say like frantic, although Sherry called me out. She's like, you usually say frantic a lot, and I think that I don't know if that's a great word to use, but it's just like a faster, urgent kind of thing, kind of a pace that they're going with, and I loved it. This is right up my alley. This is a big thumbs up for me. I love this album.
Yeah, I liked it too. It was this album kind of grew on me. The first time I listened to it, I was like, okay, but then I kind of got into it more, and I really like kind of the groove that they got in, and it also kind of has a beach vibe to me at times. Mm-hmm. That surf rock sound, I think. I really responded to like what you said, John, about the percussion. I really like all the different things. It seems like there's bongos and like castanets and you know, different shakers and like wood blocks, and like I appreciate like all the different things that they bring, that they incorporate into the song. But it's still, in some ways, it's like I hear what both of you are saying. It's like, yeah, there's a lot going on, but it's also sparse. It's like some weird like middle ground that they you know, are in. And I really like the guitar sound on this too. It's kind of a really crisp sound. I don't know if they're like, it's not something I feel like we've heard too much of. There's not a lot of like effects or they're playing with pickups or something. It just sounds very, the sound of the guitar doesn't really deviate, and it's this very like clean sound to me.
It's a basic electric guitar sound with zero distortion. It's like it's like whatever the settings you get. It's like the setting that the guitar comes with or the amp comes with. Exactly. That's what it's on.
Yeah. Exactly.
It sounds like 2000s indie rock is what it sounds like.
That's probably why I like it.
It's like Kaiser Chiefs, you know, stuff like it's that guitar tune. It's like when I was listening to this, I was like, it's 2000 indie rock guitar. That's what angular guitar
sounds a little
like,
Strokes like too, which I really always like their sound.
See, I think the Strokes are way more distorted, their guitar, than this.
Maybe
This is way cleaner to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, and I didn't like that Beatles cover at first, but then that grew on me too. So yeah. I agree with you. I think Moscow Nights, which is the song we featured in the opening montage, is my favorite song. I think the their lead singer's voice is just only okay. They really don't have a lot of, there's not any dual vocals. There's not harmonies. There's not. He's singing. He's kind of like talk singing, I feel like at times too. And it really is all about the music on this. Not really the vocals. Not really. I couldn't tell you what any of the songs are about. I don't think there's really much of a lyrical intent behind them. But yeah, I thought this was, and thinking about where it is on the top 100, I feel like that's appropriate place. 99 is like the perfect spot. I think it's deserving to be in the list at this point, but it's not like mind blowing, but I also enjoyed it. So I could see somebody really responding to this like Matt did if you hadn't heard of it. I also hadn't heard of it, for the record, and I really liked it. So it's definitely something I would recommend to others.
I mean, was there an easier guess than that Matt was going to like this album,
I
Josh? I mean, like,
suppose,
it's just, I laughed. It's like, if we talked about, like, I was joking a little bit before about certain types of music, like, I know Matt's not going to like, it's going to be like, I just think they should do more. I'm like, as I'm listening to this, I'm like, well, here's a Matt album right here. Like, so, yeah.
But they also do, like, I mean, there's a number of songs on here that takes, like, a minute before, like, any sound happens.
I know.
And then you've got a song like Loveless Love, that, like, and that builds. That's
Yes.
that's one of, that
It's
might
like
be my
a
favorite.
7-minute song. I think,
At that one's 5. Forces at
Okay.
Work is 7 minutes, but Loveless Love like starts off from nothing, and then they build, and they're doing really cool guitar. That's the other thing too. There's cool guitar solos on here. It's not just this driving guitar rhythm section. It's also like kind of like good guitar solos. I mean, it's not virtuoso or anything like that.
Yeah,
but
it's
they're
jangly
cool.
guitar.
Yeah, and it adds to it, and then but Loveless Love just they build up, and they add this other. It's great. Yeah, this is right up my alley.
Yeah, I liked it. I'd give it a thumbs up. It wasn't like, I'm not as effusive as you are, Matt, because I think there's other bands that are coming in the 80s that take this and take it to the, whether it be
Then I'm gonna
lyrically-
really like those bands.
Well, you know them because they're like the Smiths and REM, and they take the jangle guitar and move it into an even more streamlined sound. Like, yeah, it's not particularly hard to
But
figure
even
out
with
why Peter Buck likes this. I mean, my
Yeah,
God,
but even
Peter
though
Buck,
I can see the REM liking this, but this doesn't. I don't know. It sounds a little different than REM. It doesn't sound like. I mean, REM kind of obviously.
Well, it
did their own
sounds a
thing,
lot
but
like Reckoning REM for sure. Like that.
Okay.
Like, or Fables REM. Like, there's a lot of overlap. I mean, Fables is darker, but the guitar tone and the only difference really is the percussion. Because
the speed.
The percussion's what takes this out of the pocket. Like, in a lot of jangle pop, groups, they're in the pocket. That's kind of what it is. It's the speed is consistent. That's what being in the pocket. It's like the speed is consistent and the sound is consistent, right? And they do it. The drums are what throw this out of the pocket often. That's what makes it unique. Mm-hmm.
I don't see how the drums are throwing that out. They seem to be right in lockstep with the guitars and the. And
I
the
didn't feel that way at all. I thought they were
Really?
they were off on a different sound, like a different. They congeal with it, like is a sound, but in terms of what they're doing, they're this isn't keeping time or building with it, right? Like doing a coherent rhythm. I feel they're going in a completely different direction.
Wait, so are Talking Heads Remain in Light, are they in the pocket or out of pocket on that?
Depends on the song. That's what's cool about the Talking Heads. The Talking Heads go from in and to out of the pocket, like in individual songs. That's what's cool about the Talking Heads.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right.
Sometimes they're like
deep.
deeply in the pocket, and sometimes when David Byrne's going full world music, they're way out of the pocket. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
But that's like a jazz term. Yeah, we'll explore that more.
Another
so.
a post-punk masterpiece, though, right, Matt?
Yeah, it's my favorite genre. I love post-punk.
All-encompassing post-punk.
Seriously.
There should be some where just you and I, Josh, talk about these albums, because it could be just like, this is another like Matt indie album. You go back and see it. So
We could say that about you guys too.
Oh, for sure.
I'm not the only one that's predictable.
Can you
No, I feel like-
guess as easily like what's a John album as much as I can guess a Matt album? Like, I can't guess a Josh album as easily as I can guess a Matt album.
You just know Matt better than me. That's all.
I just Matt has has sound like this, for example. Matt always says, I like something that builds to like a crescendo that's like a pop hooky, and I mean that's this album. Like it's like from start to finish, that's every song. It starts soft, builds to a chorus, and that
it
is
doesn't really build to a
poppy.
chorus. I see what you're saying, though. But
Musically it does. Musically it does, I'd say. It's maybe not lyrically and stuff, but it builds to like a peak that it gets to.
I don't know. It's hard to identify why I knew Matt would like it. I think the jam aspect of it kind of like stood out to me, and I thought he might like that. So yeah, I don't know.
Matt can surprise me at times, but there's like albums that there's very few albums that I know you're gonna definitely hate, Josh, or definitely like 100% certainty. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot with Matt I'm not sure one way or the other, but like I always know an album Matt's really gonna like or really gonna hate. Those are for sure.
All right,
and,
let's put you to that. Let's put you up to that. Let's see.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Keeping score.
Okay.
And he's not going to now lie because now he's going to do it so that he can humble me.
I hated this album. It's like
I keep you humble.
This album sucks.
Yeah.
All right. So 3 thumbs up on the Feelies there.
Mm-hmm. This is a thumbs up for sure. Yep.